All right, we're joined with Don Drake, the new head coach at Ennis. We're going to talk a little 6-5A Division Two, but before we talk about that, let's talk about your decision to come down from the AD office and get yourself back on the field and get back to coaching again, and just talk about that whole challenge ahead of you to take a team that's got so much tradition, and obviously you're filling the shoes of a legend down there. Just talk about that whole deal and how it came into your decision making.
Yeah, the last 6 years I've been the athletic director here in Ennis, which has been a real blessing for me. God gave me that opportunity 6 years ago, and it allowed me an opportunity to spend more time with my own kids. I had a son who will be graduating in a couple of weeks from the University of Georgia, and he played football there. So we've been able to travel and watch him play for the last 4 years and be a part of that experience. And when Coach Harrell retired in December, it kind of was perfect timing for me to be able to get back into coaching football, where my real passion lies in working with kids. I mean, I've always viewed coaching as a mission field and a mission opportunity for me, and so I really missed speaking into kids' lives every day and being able to work with them every day and hopefully provide a positive impact through the game of football. Obviously, the camaraderie that you build with a football staff in particular, because you spend so much time together. I missed those relationships as well. It's different when you're an athletic director. You get around and you watch a lot of games and you try to build relationships with all of your coaches, which I think is important and is something that I did. But there's something to be said about spending as much time as you do with a football staff, during the course of a week, on the weekends, getting ready for games and so forth. And I think it builds a different level of relationship that being an athletic director doesn't always provide. And so, those were some things in my life that I missed, and this opportunity presented itself to me, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity to get back into it. I view it as a real blessing. Obviously, it is a challenge. I mean, Coach Harold, everybody's very aware of the success that he's had here in Ennis. I'm not trying to replace Coach Harrell. You don't replace people like Sam Harrell. They're legends, and they're legends for a reason, because they've done an outstanding job and made an outstanding contribution to this Ennis community. My hope is to be able to carry this tradition forward into the future and continue to grow young men, just like Coach Harrell's done for the last however many years he's been here, since 1994, and over two stints, obviously, as everybody's aware of. But a fantastic coaching career, and obviously a tremendous role model for all head coaches, right, to aspire to be, as in terms of how you handle a program, run a program, and treat kids, and then obviously the success that he's had, long term.
It's kind of different. Anybody that reads Matt Stepp's deal, it talks about new coaches here, new coaches there. It's different from you because you've had an eye on the players that are going to be on your team from that AD chair. So when you come down to the sidelines, you have an idea of what you have. Maybe tell me a little bit, despite the graduation of a lot of good players, what do you feel like you have going into this fall season?
Well, last year we had a pretty young defense. I think that showed in terms of our defensive production, and this year, that all those growing pains from a year ago are a blessing now. We're in spring football, and we feel like we have a very senior heavy group on the defensive side of the ball that's bringing a lot of experience to practice for us, leadership in the locker room, et cetera. So really excited about our defense now after a year of maturity. Offensively, we've got a lot of new faces. We graduated quite a few on the offensive side, so we've got to retool an offensive line, which takes time. We've got a bunch of guys that played on the JV a year ago that are now trying to fight for starting positions in the offensive line, and the same can be said for other positions at the receiving core, et cetera. So we graduated quite a bit of talent off the offensive side of the football that we've got to go replace. And I'm a head coach that's very involved on the offensive side of the football. And so, that's one of those things that I see every day in practice, right? Because I'm very much engaged in that, coaching the quarterbacks and so forth. And so we've got a lot of work to do offensively. I think any coach would tell you got a lot of work to do on all sides of the ball and in all facets of the game. But we do return a pretty solid unit on the defensive side that we're very excited about.
What do you feel about this district you're running into? Obviously, Midlothian Heritage has kind of had their way last year, and you still got the Crandalls, Kaufmans, Terrells of the world biting at your heels, because this is the kind of district that, yes, you want to make the playoffs, but you kind of don't want to be fourth, so you don't have to run into those the Mecca over there at South Oak Cliff.
Yeah.
So it's talk about fighting through this district and trying to get you one of those top three spots.
Yeah, it's been a very competitive district for sure. I think that we were right in the mix of the playoff picture last year up until very very late in the season. Lost a really close game to Terrell here at home that put us in a really difficult spot, headed into the last week or so, and so it's extremely competitive. Those guys, Midlothian Heritage that you mentioned has kind of been the bell cow of the district for the last few years, and very competitive team. There's some others there that have done a tremendous job as well that you mentioned. Crandall, extremely competitive. Terrell, competitive, right? I mean, there's just a really good group. Kaufman had a great senior heavy group last year and played some really, really good football. So, feel like it's a really competitive district that we're headed back into again this year, with some teams that we're very familiar with because we've been in and out of the district with them for the 6 years that I've been here. So I feel like I've got a pretty good feel for the coaches of those different groups, right? I know there's been some new faces at Mesquite Poteet and et cetera, but I feel like we got some pretty good feel for the head coaches that lead those programs and their style of play, and obviously how organized and what a great job they do.
And then, of course, we still got to grab that 287 sign and bring it over
Yeah.
to Ennis as well, right?
Yeah, that's a big one. It's I don't know, maybe year 106 this year, so it's been going for quite some time, and it's always exciting. The communities love that game. They come out and they're all fired up to watch it week one, and it's a great way to kick off the football season for sure. And Waxahachie obviously is under Coach Tollison. I mean, they continue to improve and excel, and I mean had a great playoff run last year and finished, I think, third in an extremely competitive football district there that they compete with Duncanville, Cedar Hill, and that crew. And we all are very familiar with those names, right, and the level of football that they play. And so, Waxahachie stands toe-to-toe with them. So it's obviously a big challenge for us week one, but it's one that we look forward to. We really do. There's a lot of history and a lot of tradition in that game. And, that series is fairly even, in terms of wins and losses across all those years. So we're excited to tee that up week one and get after it again.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you joining us, Coach, and we can't wait for this Don Drake era to begin this fall. So good luck to you, Coach.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.